Good morning. It's wonderful to see so many people. Somebody has done a head count and can still count to 100, so there are 100 people here. Yay for us. That's wonderful. And I know it's a dull, dreary day, but I found the drive here very pretty today with the flowers on the trees blossoming and everything. Made my heart feel good. So I'm in a good mood, except we do have a heavy agenda and we've got a very interesting speaker. So I'm going to try to move quickly through this, and I apologize in advance for any mistakes I make. Human errors have to be allowed today. So welcome to those watching us at home, and if you are asking a question or introducing somebody, you could just be mindful of the fact that there are cameras back there that if you acknowledge people and just turn that way, if the mic's offered, good idea to take it, because then the people at home can, and David's got the mics, and people at home then will be able to hear the questions or the comments, okay? And I don't know how many yet we've got online, but there are usually a few, 10, 11, 12 sometimes, people that watch now or catch us later. Okay, housekeeping. Remember, please, to put your phones on silent. I've already told you about David having the mics, and we've got some appreciation that we want to extend, as always, to Wilma and her greeters. And today it was Ann Boudra and Aileen McGregor. So thank you for the warm welcome at the door. And to Kathy Stevens' group, I want to thank all of you, as always, for the hospitality end of our meeting, for the coffee and cookies, and the greeting at the food table. So our gratitude to Kathy and Bob Stevens. Bob's carries everything in and picks everything up, so we're grateful to Bob and Beth Harris, and at the back still is Diane Harvey. So thank you. Teamwork makes the dream work. This morning we have a number of visitors, and so when I call out the member's name, if the member could stand, David will come and you will be able to introduce your guest. Ruth Nodwell.
Want to stand up? I just want to introduce my friend Betty Jordan. She's a longtime Guelphite. We knew many, many years ago, and have just become reacquainted, and she's interested in PROBUS.
Welcome. Star, do you have a guest? Just a minute.
She dumped me. She went to the cottage.
Oh. Oh. Her loss, Star, her loss. Okay, Dory, you've got two guests with you today?
Yes, good morning, and I brought Fran Darlington with me, and Marianne over here has come because she heard we were going to have a good speaker. So anyway, welcome to them. And,
welcome, yeah. Both of you, thank you. Gerda, thanks Gerda.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce my friend Douglas Dalgleish. He's a professor emeritus from the University of Guelph in Food Sciences. When he wasn't working, he was working in France, New Zealand, England, Germany, pretty well all over the world, and he's come to check us out today.
Welcome, Douglas. And Wendy and Charlie Toth have a guest? Oh, over there.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce our friend Paul Tribe. Paul is a retired elementary school teacher, principal, and we know Paul from teaching many years ago at Westwood School here in Guelph. Not that long ago, you're right. Just seems like it. So welcome, Paul.
Welcome, Paul. Now, does anybody else have any guests with them today that they want to introduce us to? Okay, hearing none, we have a couple of announcements today. Chris Bedard, you want to come up, Chris? And oh, you're going to stay there.
Good morning. Jan Everson is at the back of the room. As you may know or should know, June 11th is our wind-up picnic at the Guelph Country Club. $38. It's a great day, great time to socialize, great way for new people to meet some of the other members. Hope you see you. Jan will be here after the meeting, so you can see her then. Bye.
Thank you, Chris. And Ruth Nodwell is...
I'm Ruth Nodwell. I'm one of Barb's recruits to the Activities Committee, and we're just trying to get a sense of what our membership wants us to provide. So we've sent out an online survey from the Activities Committee, which you complete and send back, which would be great. We've received about 25% that way, and we've received several this morning. There are hard copies at the back. If you would like to fill it out and just leave it on the desk, that would be great. We'll also bring them to the June luncheon, just in case we've got some stragglers. Thanks.
Thanks, Ruth. I don't know whether you noticed the bulletin board that we have at the back. The Harcourt has been able to loan it to us for our meetings, so if there are announcements or notices, be worth checking out. There's a couple of things up there today. I noticed some people pulled some tags off, so draw your attention to it. And we are going to be putting it up every meeting, just so that you don't always have to listen to me or whoever follows me. Okay, now we've got new members. Once again, they have asked that I introduce them from the floor, and I will go down there. But first, I'm going to introduce Catherine and Frank Picard. I know you're out there. There you are. Hi. They are new members, and they have said that they'd just like us all to give them a wave and for me to introduce them. So welcome, both of you. They've already been active in a few groups, so people might have seen them around for a bit. We're catching up here today. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Janet Nagy, do you want to just stand up? I know this is embarrassing, but all those other people went ahead of you anyway. So Janet lives in Guelph, retired last year as a human resource manager. She earned a business degree at the University of Guelph. Worked mainly for two companies, Cadbury for 20 years and Mother Parker's Tea and Coffee for 15. You must have started work very young. She's married with two married daughters, one grandchild and one on the way. She enjoyed...
Just recently, so yeah, there you go.
Oh, so you're up to 3 since you wrote this. Exactly. Wow. Oh. No comment. You're contributing to Canada's low birth rate, I guess, within your family. We appreciate it. She enjoys fitness, walking, Pilates, gardening, baking, sewing, traveling, playing cards, games, and last but likely not least, golf. I know there's a lot of golf fans here. And you're looking forward to meeting new people. Welcome. Pleasure to have you with us. Thank you. Okay. Martin Little. Hello, Martin.
Hi there.
Okay. Martin lives in Guelph, and this has been a return to home for many generations of the Little family. Martin is retired international secondary school teacher. He's taught in India, Nigeria, China, Cambodia, Peru, Togo, and Costa Rica. maybe you can be a speaker one day here. We'd love to hear about all those. Seriously. Prior to that, in the 90s, he did high steel working that involved the Sky Dome. And more recently, he's now a seasonal salt truck driver. Did you run out of salt this year?
Not this year.
Oh, good, okay. And his hobbies include building and renos old European cars and spending time with family and friends, and we welcome you. Nice to meet you. Okay. Hi, T and Viv. All you got to do, Viva, is just stand up. Okay. They have, last name is Jason, sorry. They have lived in Switzerland, Germany, California, Texas, and Guelph. Hi, T has, and you've also included New York in your world travels. They have family in Europe, the United States, and Canada, and I just have to get back here to where I am. This is, okay. You're retired from the supply chain management, and he didn't want to have to say anything because he's done that as part of his work, so I'm his voice today.
Much appreciated.
Yes, you're very welcome. His interests include working with Trees for Guelph, planting trees on personal country property. He loves country living and travel, and he's studying spirituality. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Viv's a retired art teacher, and she enjoys learning about various cultures, nature photography. We have some big photography fans here too. Researching family history, connecting with relatives and friends, doing yoga and travel. And she has done a lot of landscape painting and abstract designs in acrylics and canvas, and has belonged to the art club in Toronto. So maybe a pop-up. Welcome. Okay, and you're welcome to sit down.
You've done good.
I didn't say anything bad about you anyway. Hi, T. I think that's, am I done? Oh my, I'm not. I'm sorry, Zena, and come on.
Last but not least.
She's looking for English friends. She's from England. That's the starting. Darlene is how you say your last name. And
Yes.
Zena, as in warrior princess?
Warrior Queen Mother these days.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
And I've lived and worked in the US.
Okay, that was not on your resume. Anyway, she's originally from England, and as I said, I know there are other English people in the crowd, so. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and wave to the crowd at home. She is originally from England, retired financial manager, has a partner, 2 daughters, 2 grandchildren. Any more on the way? Are you keeping up with Janet?
No.
Okay. Okay. She enjoys pets, walking, reading, and dancing. Welcome.
And I lived in the US for 12 years.
Oh, and she lived in the U.S. for 12 years before Donald Trump? Don't
Yes.
answer that. We're not political.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think that, I think that pretty well does it, although I think there was somebody else that I have not introduced that's here today, that was a new member. I know they weren't to be on this stage. Anyway, if you're new and you're here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome. And I will now turn it over to Kathy.
Thank you, Linda, and good morning. I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker today. Welcome to PROBUS, Muriel. I am so excited that you're here with us. Muriel's bio was published in last week's newsletter, so you've had a chance to have a look at that. Muriel McMahon is a Jungian analyst, author, a wonderful friend, and storyteller. Deep psychological and spiritual wisdom embedded in fairy tales, dreams, and myths. After a distinguished career in education here in Guelph, she answered a lifelong calling to the analyst's path, and now devotes her work to helping others understand the symbolic language of the soul. Muriel is the author of Baba Yaga's Wisdom, a Jungian journey through dreams and fairy tales. Also, Towards a Sacred End, and she has both of those books here today for you to purchase if you wish. Last Sunday, she published her latest book, Matter, Misery, Corde. It's available on Amazon. She's also the founder of Fox Haven Retreat Center, a forest sanctuary in West Grey, Ontario, and that's near Markdale. All these changes of names. She leads retreats and workshops on fairy tales, aging, and the process of becoming oneself. I'm privileged to have been a participant in Muriel's fairy tale classes, and that's been for 6 terms ever since COVID. Students from Turkey, Australia, Ontario, North Carolina, Colombia, Pennsylvania, Quebec, and all around the world participate in weekly online classes. We have created an incredible bond in friendship through learning and sharing fairy tales. What a rewarding experience. And I just thought I'd like to share my badge. I think I have 5 of them, because the first class, we got a paper certificate, not a badge. And this is pretty special. Known for her warmth, insight, humor, and engaging storytelling, Muriel invites listeners to see their own lives as meaningful journeys shaped by challenges and experience. She helps us to rediscover the enduring relevance of ancient stories. Today, Muriel will present The Soul Never Retires, Why Fairy Tales Matter More as We Age. Fairy tales are often dismissed as simple stories for children. Yet, for centuries, they were told among adults as guides for navigating life's greatest challenges, like loss, uncertainty, aging, and transformation. Muriel invites us today to rediscover fairy tales, not as relics of childhood, but as companions for the lifelong journey of becoming oneself. Welcome, Muriel. And to everyone here, enjoy. Thank you.
That was such a fine introduction. I think I need to bring her another badge. Okay. I give badges and I tell them to get themselves a sash like in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, and sew those badges and with pride say that you are a fairy tale reader. All right, just get rid of Cottonmouth. The soul never retires. If you are a dreamer, come in. If you are a dreamer, a wisher, a liar, a hoper, a prayer, a magic bean buyer. Oh, if you're a pretender, come sit by the fire. For we have some flax golden tales to spin. Come in, come in. For we have some flax golden tales to spin. Come in. That's an invocation. That's a call. It's a call to the spirit of the depths, to bring us out of the spirit of the times and all the concerns you brought with you. Just put them on the back burner and allow yourself to enter into the spirit of the depths, because that's where it's enchanted. And that's where the fairy tales live. Out of the ordinary, out of the mundane, into the extraordinary. So good morning. And I'm delighted with this invitation to speak to you. Today is my birthday. I made it to 67 years. And this morning, as I was responding to some best wishes by family, so what are you doing with your day? And I said, I have the golden opportunity to speak to a room full of elders about fairy tales. And the response was, there couldn't be a better gift for you, Muriel. So I am so happy to be here, and I thank Kathy for the invitation, and I thank PROBUS. So when I tell people I study fairy tales professionally, there's usually a pause. And then something like, that's nice, which is often followed by something like, well, my grandchildren like fairy tales, and I used to read fairy tales when I was a child. So that's true. Children do love fairy tales. But children don't need fairy tales as much as we do. Children still live inside enchantment. They talk to animals. They believe their stuffed bear understands them. They assume that the natural world is alive. It's we adults who forget. I'm here this morning to help you remember. Fairy tales were never originally told to children. They were told by adults to adults to help them survive the greatest challenges of human life: loss, aging, betrayal, illness, uncertainty, and death. In other words, fairy tales were told for people exactly like us. I will tell you a few stories this morning, and I will bring some psychological analysis to why they matter. So today I ask you to suspend disbelief, and for the time that I'm with you, consider this: that fairy tales become more meaningful, not less meaningful, as we age. As we age, as we gather up our life experiences, the joys and the sorrows, we begin to recognize ourselves in these timeless tales. A story makes the rounds in the circles I travel in, and it goes something like this. A mother asked Albert Einstein how to encourage the genius in her son, and Einstein replied, read him fairy tales. Well, okay, but then what? Read him more fairy tales. Listen to what Ivan Ilyin, a Russian philosopher and a thinker whose work sits at the intersection of religion, nationalism, and political philosophy. Listen to what he has to say about fairy tales. It's always good to go to some source material. Consider this. This was written in 1934. And listen to its relevance in 2026. He writes, whatever shadow may fall on your life, and maybe you are worried about the fate of your country, or perhaps dark thoughts visit you concerning your own future, Or maybe your entire life seems an unbearable wound. Remember the fairy tale. Listen to her quiet, ancient, wise voice. Don't think the fairy tale is a childish diversion not worthy of the attention of a grown man or woman. And don't think that adults are smart and children are stupid. Don't imagine that an adult has to stupefy himself or herself to tell a story to a child. Is not perhaps the opposite true? Aren't our minds the source of our deepest woes? And what is stupidity anyway? Is all stupidity dangerous or shameful? Or is there perhaps an intelligent kind of stupidity, something desirable and blessed that begins with stupidity but ends with wisdom? Maybe there are two kinds of stupidity. One comes from blind self-contentment, the other from a healthy skepticism. One stupefies with pride and leads to vulgarity, while the other stupefies through humility, and that leads to wisdom. 1934, it's still relevant. When C.S. Lewis wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, how many of you have familiar? The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? He dedicated it to his goddaughter, and he wrote in the acknowledgments or the preface, "My dear Lucy, I wrote this story for you, but when I began it, I had not realized that girls grow quicker than books. As a result, you are already too old for fairy tales, and by the time it is printed and bound, you will be older still. But someday you will be old enough to start reading the fairy tales again. You can take it down from some upper shelf, dust it off, and tell me then what you think of it. I shall probably be too deaf to hear, or too old to understand a word that you say, but I will still be your affectionate godfather." C.S. Lewis. So what do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Are we old enough? Are we old enough to come back to the fairy tales? Maybe Kathy can check ID at the door, so if any of you aren't old enough, we'll ask for a refund or something. So I'm going to take us into the forest, where every life eventually leads. If you think about fairy tales, almost all of them begin with someone entering a forest. Now, forests are beautiful places. I live on 100-acre woods that we call Foxhaven. Forests are fascinating, but they're also disorienting. You can't see very far ahead. The path disappears. Everything looks similar. And this is not an accident. The forest represents any time in life when we no longer know exactly where we are. It might be retirement. It might be the loss of a spouse. It might be illness. It might simply be the quiet realization one day that the life you have lived has gone by much too quickly, and that you're now in new territory. But turn to the fairy tale. The fairy tales assure us that entering the forest is not a mistake. It's part of the journey. In fact, nothing important ever happens in a fairy tale until someone gets lost. Oh, what if we looked at our lives that way? We get lost and then we get ready because something exciting is going to happen. So fairy tales, if we are honest, should be somewhat comforting, because most meaningful lives include periods of being completely lost. As I said, my husband and I live on a forested property near Markdale, Ontario, which we call Foxhaven. Why Foxhaven? Because the elderly couple that we bought the property from had a sign out at the road called Foxhaven. And he asked, "Do you mind if we leave the sign?" And I thought, sure, we'll see. Like, I'm going to listen to the forest and see what it wants to be called. But if it's been Foxhaven, I'll give you that, and I won't take down the sign to disrespect my elder. The first morning, the property was ours, and I stood on the deck with my cup of coffee, looking out at the tree line. A majestic red fox came out of the woods, looked at me, and I looked at her, maybe for a minute, maybe for 10 minutes, maybe for a lifetime. And I knew I was at Foxhaven, and Foxhaven it will be forevermore. So in that first year at Foxhaven, I would walk the trails in the early morning. Oh, it was quiet, ancient. You could feel the presence of time itself. There's one particular tree on the property that we call the mother tree. Finding her, naming her, that's another story, inspired by Suzanne Simard. I'll save that for another time. But this tree, this mother tree, she's very old, far older than any human who currently walks that land. Oh, she has clearly survived lightning strikes, ice storms, drought, and decades of heavy winters. And yet she stands, not unchanged, but enduring. One morning I was walking toward her, carrying with me the ordinary concerns of life, worries, responsibilities, questions about the future. And I remember placing my hand on her bark and realizing something very simple and very profound. She was not trying to be young again. She was not lamenting her age. Her age was her authority and her beauty. Her strength came not from avoiding time, but from surviving it. Fairy tales understand this. In fairy tales, the oldest figure in the story is often the most powerful. Baba Yaga, Gandalf, Yoda, I could go on. They are powerful not because they are physically strong, but because they have endured. I suspect we have a room filled, some 100, of fairy tale characters. And only you, and maybe those closest to you, know the story that you're inside of. In modern culture, aging is often treated as something unfortunate, something to be resisted. But fairy tales see aging differently. In fairy tales, the older woman in the forest is often the one who holds the key to everything. Now, she does not always look friendly. Sometimes she's Baba Yaga, the witch from the Slavic tales. and sometimes she lives in a hut on chicken legs. I'm going to read the story, a condensed story of Baba Yaga, so you get a sense of who I'm talking about. No, I'm not. I'm going to tell it. Once upon a time, maybe twice upon a time, maybe it's happening still, there was a girl, and this girl was to suffer one of the most devastating experiences of any life, the death of her mother. But before her mother died, she called her to her, and she said, "Oh, my sweet, I don't want to leave you, but the forces of nature insist that I must. But darling girl, I have stitched you a little pocket doll, stitched with my love, stitched with my wisdom. I want you to hold it in your pocket. And whenever you're lost, whenever you're afraid, just put your hand in the pocket and you will feel my love. And if ever you don't know what to do, take that little pocket doll out in private. Show this to no one. Tell this to no one. And feed the doll. Give it a crumb of bread or a sip of water, and she will help you find the way." So that's what Vasilisa did. She put the doll in her pocket. Now, as happens in most fairy tales, her father didn't take long to replace his wife. And he brought a woman into his home, married her, and of course, she had 2 daughters. 2 wicked stepdaughters and a wicked stepmother. And then Dad had to go off in the world and do his thing and left Vasilisa in the care of the mother and her daughters. Well, we know where this goes, don't we? We've heard it in the tales, we've seen it in the tales. Now, this is not to disparage good stepmothers, but this is to say sometimes even the feminine can be wicked, and this mother was wicked, and her wickedness was transferred to her daughters, and they treated Vasilisa horribly. But Vasilisa never lost faith because she had the pocket doll. She had something to remind her that she was beloved. Well, as it goes, the stepmother was deciding, I've had it looking after this daughter that's not my own. I'd like to get rid of her. So she intentionally put out the fire and then went to Vasilisa, who was very compliant, very willing to please, and she said, "We will die without the fire. We need you to go find the fire." "Well, Mother, where will I find the fire?" "Go into the forest." "But Mother, we're told that the witch lives in the forest. Baba Yaga lives in the forest. Surely there is somewhere else I could go to get the fire." "No, that is the only place." So Vasilisa went out in service to her stepmother, in service to her stepsisters. She went out into the forest to find the fire that had gone out. And it was dark. And it was frightening. And then she came to a clearing. And then it was worse, because what she saw in that clearing was a hut. Now, this wasn't any ordinary hut. This was a hut that turned on chicken legs. What strange manner of reality is this? And the hut turned. And there was a fence, and on this fence there were skulls. And there was a mean cat and a barking dog and a birch tree that would lash her in the wind. But that was the only place to find the fire. So she approached. And just when she thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. Inside the hut was the most heinous, disgusting, ugly creature she had ever seen. It was Baba Yaga. "What do you want?" she said. "Oh, grandmother, I am seeking the fire. The fire has gone out, and I'm afraid we will freeze to death in the dark. Why should I give the fire to you?" "Because I traveled here, and I asked." "Did you come of your own accord, or were you sent?" Vasilisa touched the doll in her pocket and knew to answer the wish directly would be her destruction. So she said, "I came of my own accord 55%, and I was sent 92%. And she was welcomed into the hut. She passed the first test. The riddle made no sense. Fairy tales ask you to leave sensibility and rationality at the threshold. And she entered the hut. And there in the hut, she was given impossible tasks. Sort the seeds, do the laundry, do the dishes, take the kids to their ball games, be the grandmother who's always available. She was given impossible tasks, yet she endured. She did what was asked because she was seeking the fire. She was seeking the fire that had gone out. And finally, one day, Baba Yaga deemed her worthy and put the fire in a skull and gave it to her and said, "Here, are you strong enough to carry it? Because, Vasilisa, this is soul fire. And to carry that back in the world to the world that has gone dark, it's going to ask so much of you. To carry that soul fire into a world that has gone cold, it will ask so much of you." And Vasilisa touched the doll in her pocket and received the skull and walked into the world. You would think everyone would be thrilled to see her. You found the soul light. You brought something back to us, something we so desperately need in these dark times. But that's not what happened. As soon as she approached the home, her stepmother and her stepsisters, "You're back? We didn't expect you to survive. You're back?" But when Vasilisa held up that skull, that symbol of eternity that held the new light, did she have to speak? Did she have to proselytize? Did she have to argue? No. She held the light. And the story goes that when that light shone upon the wickedness of her stepmother and the wickedness of her stepsisters, they were turned to ash. Because when it's soul fire, it speaks for itself. When it's soul fire, it rights the wrongs. Do we need soul fire these days? I think we do. And the fairy tale will tell us, what is your pocket doll? What is your talisman? What is the thing that you carry? Maybe it's your intuition. Maybe it's your experience. Maybe it's your genius. But it's yours. And you don't have to show it to anybody. But when necessary, you touch it to remind yourself you're beloved so that you never forget that. And then, when the fire begins to burn in you again, the soul fire, then you walk it into the world and let it speak for you. Let it speak for you because you've got a light in your eyes and you've got a skip in your step and your posture is just a little straighter. That's wisdom. That's soul fire. That's what Vasilisa the Beautiful reminds us of. So Baba Yaga the crone gives us impossible tasks, which is exactly what life does. But she's not there to destroy the hero or the heroine. She's there to develop them. The crone represents something essential, truth stripped of illusion. She sees clearly. She no longer seeks approval. She's not trying to impress anyone, though she is impressive. She's not trying to be liked, although she is liked. She's aligned with reality. And her masculine counterpart is the sage, the older man who was withdrawn from the noise of life. He who watches and waits. He who reflects. He who tends to his own soul fire. Are you ready for another story? There's a story told often by Martin Shaw, who is one of my teachers. And Martin Shaw tells this story about this old man. You know, I told the story about Vasilisa and the crone. I have to be equal here and tell the story from the masculine point of view. So this old man, very successful in the world, degrees and achievements, good financial portfolio, but he's aging, and he wants something different. Maybe there was no PROBUS club in that group, so he had to go into the forest. And that's what he did. This old man, he went into the forest, and he found a hut. And he thought, this is where I will live out my days. He was a hunter. He was a steward of the land, and he loved the land, and the land loved him. And he spent his days very quietly, getting up, making a cup of coffee, sitting on his porch, musing about the state of the world, and then going out into the forest and letting the forest have its way with him. He was a happy man, a contented man. However, if truth be known, there was just a little emptiness in his heart. One day, when it was raining and it was cold and he was making his way back to his abode, he spied something that surprised him. There was smoke coming out of the chimney of his hut. Who could be there? So he crept quietly and he peeked in the window. And what did he see? There was someone there. There was a woman standing at the cook stove with the most beautiful mane of hair flowing down her back. And she was stirring a pot, and oh, the fragrance from that pot, the spices, the blend. He started to drool. It was so absolutely incredible. And the dishes were done. And his laundry was done and folded and piled on the newly made bed. And he's thinking, maybe I died out there. Maybe this is heaven. So he thought he best test it. He crossed the threshold And she turned, and oh, she was exquisite. It's like she was the one he dreamt about since he was about 12 years old, that elusive figure that teased his dreams. Maybe he found her in an outer woman, but oh, this was something different. She was otherworldly. She was enchanting. And she turned and she said, "I am Foxwoman. I shall be the lady of this house." All right, sounds good to me. And they sat, and they had the most exquisite meal, and the candle in the wine bottle, what, the Mateo wine? What was that wine bottle where the wine drips out? They had wine by candlelight, and they talked, and oh, she was such a storyteller, such a poet, such an incredibly enchanting woman. And she laughed at all his jokes, and even sometimes when he repeated a story, she listened as if she were hearing it for the first time. How great is this? And when the candle had burned down and it became dark, and they went off to bed. Oh, it was bliss. Maybe at some point in your life, you've had a night like that. Maybe even more than one. I won't get into details, but let's just say it was a meeting of souls and it was bliss. And in the morning, she said, "Go off, do your things. I will tend to the household," and he did. Day after day, he came home to a beautiful meal and wonderful conversation and those fabulous nights when the candle had burned down. And she had a fox pelt shawl that she would always wear. Now, one day, maybe the hunting was bad. Maybe the stew from the night before was too spicy. Maybe he was just in a bad mood, but he came home. And although the stew was ready, although the candle was in the wine bottle, there was a smell, musky, wild. And so he turned to her softly and said, "Oh, my darling one, light of my light, soul of my soul, the stars fell from heaven and landed in your presence. I couldn't be a happier man, except for one thing. That fox pelt, small cabin, it's pretty wild and gamey. Could we just hang it outside?" She rose up from the table, blew out the candle. Without saying a word, she went to sleep. And he thought, guess I have to deal with the fox pelt. And there it was, hanging on the back of the door. Well, let's say a week, maybe 2 weeks passed. And again, he would eat and he could taste the muskiness of the fox. Those fox hairs seemed to be everywhere. He tried to read and they're dancing in the light. And he's had it. So one day he says to her, "That fox pelt has to go, or I do." She got up, blew out the candle, never said a word, and went to bed. And in the morning, when he woke up, she was gone. And so was the fox pelt. And it said that if you're in the deep forest and you happen upon a hut, you might just see an old man sitting on the porch, with such a longing in his eyes as he scans the tree line, hoping she will return. But if you reject your soul image, all you have is the longing, because she doesn't return. So figures like the hunter, foxwoman, Baba Yaga, Vasilisa, they are there to guide us. We realize we are no longer just the hero or the heroine. We are becoming the crone. We need bumper sticker that says, "What would Baba do?" Or we need bumper stickers that say, or maybe a t-shirt or a cap that said, "What would Gandalf do?" And allow the fairy tales to guide us through difficulties. So this is not diminishment. This is a promotion. And unfortunately, there is no official ceremony as we move from adulthood into elderhood. No one calls to congratulate you. You simply wake up one day and you realize that you see the world differently than you did. And that difference, if you let it, that difference is wisdom. And at the end of your tale, be you crone or be you sage, the certificate is likely a death certificate. But hey, it will be well earned with your experiences. So fairy tales are honest. They don't pretend that life is easy. People in fairy tales lose parents. They face betrayal. They make mistakes. They endure hardship. And yet the story continues. And that perhaps is one of the most important lessons that fairy tales teach, that the story continues. One of the great developmental achievements of later life is the recognition that we have survived things we once thought we could not survive. We have endured grief. We've endured disappointment, loss, change, and yet here we are. I once went on this excursion up into the north of Ontario in February. It was an Indigenous teaching, and the first thing we were to do was to gather a bundle of kajit, which is cedar, the petticoat of the old woman. And we were to take that bundle of kajit into the bush, into the wilderness, and we were given a task. First, we were told, leave your phones and your cameras and your journal behind. Go only with your presence. Go with presence, so present, so as to be seen by the unseen. And when you feel that you are so present in the moment that you are seen by the unseen, I want you to ask a question. Ask, what is your reason to live? Not what is the reason you're glad to be alive. What is your reason to live? What is your destiny? What were you incarnated to deliver? Ask your reason to live. So off we go on snowshoes. There were about 12 of us, I think. And it's February. The snows are decaying. We're in the bush in the far north. And at one point, my companions were so far ahead of me, I couldn't see them. Or so far behind me, I couldn't see them. And there I was on this frozen lake. And I stopped. You know, you get that goose flesh on the back of your neck. I stopped. And I felt I was being watched. Bears are hibernating, so I probably don't need to worry about bears, but I felt I was being seen by the unseen. And so I asked, give me my reason to live. And this is what I received. It wasn't a hallucination, but I received in the way that these things are received, in the way when you touch the pocket doll, you know that you're loved, or when you're laughing with your soulmate, you know that you are aligned. I received a message, and the message was this, and I'm going to share it with you. The message was, those snowshoe prints in the snow that you are following, that's not the future. The future is not in front of you. The future is behind you. What's in front of you is the past. Those snowshoe prints were laid down by your ancestors. And you, in this incarnation, are either putting your foot into the snow print that went before you, or you're saying, I have more opportunities than they did. I'm going to cut trail. I'm not going to repeat the mistakes. I'm going to bless them. I'm going to have the gratitude that's necessary, and I'm going to cut trail, because what's behind you, that's the past. I'm sorry, what's behind you is the future. Those are your descendants. Those are your children and your grandchildren and your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren that are going to follow your snow prints. So make them as true and as authentic as you can. The more work you do in this life, the more you foster your elderhood, the less likely you're going to be leaving stumbling blocks for your ancestors. That landed as a truth, and at that moment, I laid down my bundle of kajit, because I knew I had a reason to live. And that reason was to connect with the past and to plant seeds for the future. As they say, seeds for trees that I will never enjoy the shade of. And the fairy tales teach us how to do that and why we need to do that. So modern culture assumes that development belongs to the young. But psychologically and spiritually, some of the most important developments happen in later life. So fairy tales are not asking us to believe in magic in a childish sense. They're asking us to recognize that we're miracles. We're miracles of endurance. The miracle of having lived. The miracle of having survived long enough to become someone who understands things that cannot be taught, but can only be lived. When I stand beside the mother tree at Foxhaven, I do not see something old in the sense of something diminished. I see something fulfilled, something that has become fully itself. Fairy tales remind us that this is the trajectory of human life, not simply aging, but becoming someone whose presence itself becomes a form of guidance, someone whose life has become a story worth telling. And perhaps that's the final enchantment, that we ourselves become part of the fairy tale. In Barrie's well-known tale, Peter Pan, as Tinker Bell lay dying because she has been poisoned, having drunk the medicine that was meant for Peter. Fairies, Barrie tells us, are sustained by belief. And so her fading is not only physical, it's imaginal. So Peter turns to the audience, breaking through the boundary between story and the world, and he cries out, "Tink is dying, And if you believe in fairies, clap your hands. So I turn to you, ladies and gentlemen, elders, keepers of the soul fire. Look at our world. Our imagination is dying. Our world is losing enchantment. If you believe in fairy tales, if you believe in magic, if you believe in destiny, we can save it. So if you believe in fairy tales, right here, right now, clap your hands. If you believe in fairies, clap your hands. Thank you. Okay, we can open it for questions. Timing, how are we on timing? According to my watch, I got 2 minutes and 30 seconds left.
You've got almost 10.
Almost 10, okay. If there are no questions, I can read you something else. Well, let's see.
You know the drill. Put up your hands if you have a question, and put up your hand while the previous question is being asked. I have 2 minutes. Our speaker was very clear, apparently.
I don't have a question, but I've been to Foxhaven, and I've been privileged to see and meet the mother tree. And every time we go there, we take her a gift. And that, I'm going to call it a ceremony. It's very casual, but it's a wonderful feeling to do that for Mother Tree.
Yeah.
And we all have mother trees in our lives.
If you've read Suzanne Simard work, the mother tree is the oldest tree, and she is the one who, through that mycelium network, is supporting the new growth. So we need to be mother and father trees. We need to support the growth under the surface.
Are there any questions from home? Okay, no questions from our at-home audience?
Okay, let me end with an interlude then. If Kathy says I have a few more minutes. This is an interlude that's at the end of my book as, you know, a little self-promotion here. There's a couple of books at the back. They're $20 each if you wish to purchase one, and I will autograph it for you too. And if not, then you can purchase it on Amazon. But this is from the end, and it's called An Interlude from the Hearth of Wisdom. The hearth being that place where the fire is still burning. There are days when the threads fray, when the fabric of the world comes undone in our very hands. The glaciers weep, the forests fall silent, the mothers grieve, and still the markets roar louder than the sacred. Oh, we are a people out of breath, running from the quiet that is the very balm we crave. Our prophets are hoarse, the scrolls unroll without end, and the children look up, waiting to see if we remember what it's like to hold the flame. Yet even now, even here, a hearth still glows. Wisdom has not vanished. It hums beneath the noise, like mycelium weaving the unseen. It waits in the silence of old women's prayers, in the broken open hearts of men who have nothing left to prove, in the children who dare to speak the invisible. Come closer. This is a time for presence, the kind that kneels, the kind that listens, the kind that keeps watch when the fire is low. These are the days that need the hearth keepers. Let the woman with the soft eyes and the steady hands gather wood, and the man with the threadbare prayer sit by the coals. Let the artists, the mystics, the wounded ones come back from the margins and lay their gifts on the embers. Our elders are not relics. They are roots. Let those who wept in grocery aisles and on commuter trains become the ones who bless the bread. Oh, yes, there is rage enough to scorch the earth. But beneath the rage is grief. And beneath the grief is love. The kind that carries a stranger through fire, that walks miles with water balanced on her head, that sings lullabies in war zones, that refuses to go out. From the hearth of wisdom, I say to you, let us become the sons and daughters of Baba Yaga. Let us root ourselves where drought cannot reach. Let us return to the old rituals that kept our grandmothers alive and make new rituals that will keep our children whole. Let us rebel with rest, resist with soup, rise with silence and sacred attention. Let us gather again in circles and in ceremonies and in Thursday morning clubs where the ember of soul is not forgotten. The world does not need our panic. It needs our presence and our deep blessing. Because somewhere, a child is watching you. Somewhere, a God is listening. Somewhere, the ember has not gone out. And these times, oh, these fragile, holy, unraveling times are asking for those who will bend close, cup their hands, and tend the fire with their very breath. May you each be among them. Thank you.
Muriel, this has been fun. Can you hear me? Good. This has been fun.
Good.
And the appreciation of elders and the wisdom that we have. And I had been thinking, wow, you even mentioned the emperor's new clothes. And I have a series of plates that have the stories on them of Hans Christian Andersen.
Oh, wonderful.
And we would read them to the children before they went to bed. I'd read the plate and so on. It's been a fun experience.
Well, read it yourself now.
Oh, that's a thought. Yes, and I guess connecting with the past is the plan for the future, and we become part of the fairy tale. I thought that was quite profound, and thank you so much for speaking with us as a token.
Thank you. Again. Is there any other business that or announcements, whatever anyone needs to make? Okay. Call this meeting adjourned. Thank you. And hopefully we'll have a good turnout for the lunch in June. And coffee, cookies still there. Thank you so much. Oh, well, thank you. That was